Hello, I'm Dr. Sophia Carter, and welcome back to Senior Men's Health. Today, we are moving the conversation past performance anxiety and into the realm of deep mutual satisfaction. Many men focus intensely on stamina or firmness, believing that peak physical condition is the sole path to intimacy. While those elements are important, they are only half the story. The other, arguably more crucial half, involves mastery of pleasure, specifically her pleasure, understanding the intricate landscape of female anatomy and how to navigate it with precision transforms intimacy from a simple physical act into a profound connection that satisfies both partners on levels that go far beyond the superficial. Now, if you have been paying attention to sexual wellness discussions over the last few decades, you've likely heard the term G-spot. It has been hailed as the ultimate key to female ecstasy, and consequently, many men feel immense pressure to locate and stimulate this mysterious area. They search, they probe, and often they end up disappointed or, worse, feeling inadequate because the promised fireworks don't materialize. This focus on one single internal spot often leads to repetitive and unsuccessful techniques, creating more frustration than connection. The G-spot has been mythologized to such an extent that it has become a source of anxiety rather than pleasure for many couples. The truth is, while the G-spot is a legitimate part of the complex female anatomy, the intense focus on it has led many to completely overlook an entirely different, highly sensitive, and profoundly satisfying area that women often secretly wish their partners knew how to access and stimulate. This spot is external yet internal, accessible without extensive exploration, and scientifically proven to play a massive role in creating deep, intense, and often full-body experiences that leave lasting impressions. It's an area that offers a much more reliable path to pleasure than the elusive G-spot ever could, primarily because of its accessibility and the density of nerve endings concentrated in this relatively small region. This is not a trick or a gimmick. This is an anatomical reality that is often neglected in discussions about male and female intimacy. The medical literature supports the existence and significance of this area, yet mainstream conversations about intimacy rarely address it with the specificity and practical guidance that men need. We are going to explore this area in depth, discuss its precise location relative to the visible anatomy, and explain the specific type of pressure and approach that transforms simple touch into profound pleasure. My goal today is to equip you with accurate, actionable knowledge so you can replace guesswork and anxiety with confidence and genuine, powerful connection that benefits both you and your partner. The area we are discussing is often referred to in anatomical circles as the perineal sponge, and more practically as the A-spot or anterior fornix erogenous zone, depending on the stimulation vector. However, for simplicity and utility, we're going to focus on its most accessible and profound component, which sits just behind the visible entrance and is linked directly to the sensitive nerve endings of the urethra and the underlying vascular tissue. Think of the entire clitoral network as a sprawling river system. Most men focus on the mouth of the river, the visible clitoral glands. The G-spot might be one deep tributary, but the area we are focusing on today is the powerful central convergence point just below the surface, the nerve hub that truly amplifies sensation across the entire network. This convergence creates a multiplier effect where stimulation in this area resonates throughout multiple interconnected structures simultaneously. To fully understand why this area is so powerful, we need a brief look at the anatomy. The entire female genitalia is interconnected in ways that most people don't fully appreciate, meaning stimulation in one area cascades into others through both direct nerve pathways and vascular connections. The visible clitoral glands is just the tip of the iceberg. The tissue extends internally along the length of the vaginal wall in two arms called the crura, which wrap around the vaginal canal like wishbones. The vestibular bulbs, which are masses of erectile tissue similar in function to male erectile tissue, swell with blood during arousal, making the entire region incredibly sensitive and responsive. The specific spot we are targeting is situated near the deepest aspect of the vestibule, where the sensitive urethral sponge tissue meets the anterior wall. This intersection creates a concentration of nerve density that is unmatched in other areas of the internal anatomy. Why is this spot so highly desired and yet so often missed? It requires a different vector of touch than most men typically employ. When a partner attempts to stimulate the classic G-spot, the touch is often directed straight in or upward on the anterior wall, usually quite deep. While this can work for some women, it relies on deep pressure, which can sometimes feel abrasive, overly intense, or even uncomfortable if not approached correctly. The spot women crave is generally accessed with a shallower, more targeted touch that simultaneously applies gentle pressure to the structures lying just beneath the surface. It is a nuanced spot that benefits from focused, consistent, and rhythmic stimulation rather than aggressive exploration. The difference between knowing this spot exists and actually mastering its stimulation is the difference between adequate intimacy and extraordinary connection. We must understand that the most intense female experiences are often those that integrate both clitoral and internal sensation in a coordinated way. This spot is the perfect bridge because its nerve endings directly communicate with both the clitoral network and the deeper pelvic floor muscles through a complex web of neurological pathways. When you stimulate this area effectively, you are not just creating local pleasure, you are sending a powerful signal throughout the entire pelvic region, leading to deeper contractions and a more comprehensive, full-body experience that engages muscles, nerves, and vascular systems in perfect synchronization. Women often describe stimulation here as feeling more filling or engorging than simple clitoral stimulation alone, creating a sense of internal fullness and satisfaction that external stimulation cannot replicate. The neurological aspect of this spot cannot be overstated. The pudendal nerve, which is the primary nerve supplying sensation to the genital region, has branches that converge in this area. Stimulating this convergence point sends signals to the brain through multiple pathways simultaneously, creating a richer, more complex pattern of sensation than stimulating areas served by single nerve branches. This is why women often report that stimulation here feels qualitatively different from other types of touch. It's literally engaging more of their nervous system at once. Now, let's talk technique in greater detail. The common mistake is using too much force or going too deep too quickly. This spot thrives on precision and steady rhythm, not on power or depth. Imagine you are trying to massage a very specific small area on the inner thigh. You wouldn't use your entire hand forcefully. You would use the pad of 1 or 2 fingers to apply very focused, consistent pressure. The finger used should be the one that naturally allows the gentlest curve and reach. Typically, the middle finger or a combination of the index and middle fingers. The pad of the finger, not the tip, should be the primary point of contact, as this provides broader, more diffuse pressure that feels more pleasurable than the sharp point of a fingertip. The motion required is not a simple inward plunge. It is a come hither or hooking motion that must be executed with careful attention to angle and pressure. You insert the finger only to the first or second knuckle. Remember, this is a relatively shallow spot, typically no more than 2 to 3 inches inside. Then gently curl the finger upward toward the pubic bone as if beckoning someone toward you. The goal is not to find a hard lump or a button, but to find the area just inside the entrance that feels slightly spongy, textured differently from the surrounding tissue, and incredibly sensitive to the light, internal pressure of the finger pad pressing against the inner tissue. Once you locate this general area, maintain the gentle upward curl and use a slow, rhythmic, consistent stroke, much like gently coaxing something toward you. The rhythm should be deliberate and unhurried, perhaps 1 to 2 strokes per second, maintaining constant contact with the tissue rather than removing and reinserting the finger repeatedly. It is crucial to understand the role of arousal here. This spot becomes much more defined and sensitive when the woman is already highly aroused, as the surrounding vestibular bulbs and vascular tissue are engorged with blood, creating a cushion of erectile tissue that makes the area more prominent and responsive. Attempting to locate this spot prematurely, before adequate arousal has occurred, will likely lead to discomfort, dryness, or simply an inability to locate the area because it hasn't yet swollen into its fully responsive state. Therefore, effective stimulation of this area must always follow sufficient foreplay and clitoral stimulation. Think of foreplay as opening the neurological gateway. Stimulating this spot is the key that opens the inner chamber. Adequate arousal also ensures natural lubrication, which is essential for comfortable and pleasurable stimulation of any internal area. The arousal timeline matters significantly. Most women require at least 10 to 15 minutes of quality foreplay before this area becomes optimally responsive. This foreplay should include kissing, touching, external clitoral stimulation, and verbal connection that builds psychological arousal alongside physical arousal. The mind and body must both be engaged for this spot to reach its full potential. Rushing past this arousal phase to get to this spot prematurely is one of the most common mistakes men make, and it virtually guarantees disappointing results. A key reason this technique is so highly desired is the element of variability and novelty. Most men fall into one of 2 predictable categories. Either they focus entirely on the clitoral glands with repetitive circular motions, or they attempt aggressive, deep penetration with little attention to the nuances of internal anatomy. This targeted, focused, slightly internal stimulation represents a profound change of pace. It shows that the partner is paying attention to the nuanced architecture of her pleasure, making the experience feel uniquely personal and deeply satisfying. This focused attention and anatomical literacy are powerful aphrodisiacs that communicate care, attention, and genuine interest in her experience rather than just pursuing your own completion. Another often overlooked factor is the vascular engagement this spot provides. Effective stimulation of the anterior wall engages the underlying erectile tissue, helping to push blood flow deeper into the entire pelvic region and creating a state of heightened engorgement that amplifies sensation throughout the area. This increased vascular engagement is often what leads women to describe their climax as deeper, more encompassing, and longer lasting than a purely external, singular clitoral experience. The sheer volume of nerve endings and vascular tissue involved creates a cascading effect of pleasure throughout the entire pelvic floor, which translates into an intensely gratifying experience that can produce multiple waves of sensation rather than a single peak. The pelvic floor muscles also play a crucial role in the effectiveness of this stimulation. When this spot is stimulated correctly, it triggers reflexive contractions of the pelvic floor muscles, which in turn create additional internal pressure and sensation. These contractions can become rhythmic and intensifying, creating a feedback loop where the stimulation causes contractions, and the contractions amplify the sensation from the stimulation. Understanding this mechanism helps you recognize when you've found the right spot and are using the right technique. You'll feel these rhythmic contractions around your finger as clear feedback that the stimulation is working. This approach also benefits the partner because it is less physically demanding than trying to sustain complex or acrobatic maneuvers. It requires focus and sensitivity, not brute force or excessive stamina. This shifts the focus away from anxiety about duration and towards the quality and consistency of the intimate moment, which ultimately benefits both partners' satisfaction. When a man can consistently deliver deep pleasure with minimal physical strain, his confidence soars and her desire amplifies. This creates a positive feedback loop where increased confidence leads to better technique, which leads to more positive responses, which further increases confidence. Breaking free from performance anxiety in this way can transform your entire intimate relationship. The technique also allows for sustained attention without fatigue. Unlike positions that require maintaining difficult physical positions or continuous vigorous movement, this focused manual stimulation can be maintained for extended periods without strain. This sustainability is crucial because reaching the deepest levels of pleasure often requires consistent, uninterrupted stimulation over several minutes. Being able to maintain your technique without tiring or losing focus is what separates adequate lovers from exceptional ones. Furthermore, communicating about this spot is vital. While the title suggests it is a secret spot, the secret is only in the specific technique and the depth of sensation it provides when done correctly. Gentle guidance during intimacy, where she confirms that you are hitting the right spot or provides feedback on pressure and rhythm, is encouraged and should be welcomed rather than seen as criticism. A simple confirmation, or even slight shifts in position or angle based on her feedback, can quickly turn an experimental touch into a consistent source of intense pleasure. Remember, effective intimacy is always a dialogue, not a monologue. Asking questions like, "Is this the right spot?" or "Does this pressure feel good?" demonstrates attentiveness and genuine care for her experience. The verbal component of this exploration cannot be underestimated. Many women feel hesitant to provide specific guidance because they worry about damaging their partner's ego or making them feel inadequate. Creating an environment where feedback is welcomed and encouraged removes this barrier and allows for much more effective learning and adjustment. Framing questions in positive ways, "I want to make sure I'm giving you exactly what feels best," invites collaboration rather than creating defensiveness. For those of you who struggle with the pressure of performance, focusing on this technique is a powerful way to recenter your energy. By dedicating your attention to this area and its specific needs, you are moving away from the internal measurement of your own endurance and shifting towards the observable, genuine pleasure of your partner. That positive feedback loop, her increasing arousal and enjoyment, is one of the most powerful natural enhancers for male confidence and function. Watching and feeling your partner respond intensely to your touch is far more affirming than any internal assessment of your own performance could ever be. This shift in focus also helps address common issues like premature completion or difficulty maintaining firmness, because your attention is directed outward toward your partner's experience rather than inward toward your own anxiety. When your mind is occupied with reading her responses, adjusting your technique, and ensuring her pleasure, there's simply less mental bandwidth available for the anxious thoughts that often interfere with male function. This external focus is one of the most effective psychological techniques for managing performance anxiety. Additionally, mastering this technique provides you with a powerful tool that doesn't depend on your own physical state. On days when your own function might be less than optimal due to stress, fatigue, or other factors, you still have the ability to provide profound pleasure through this focused manual stimulation. This reliability removes much of the pressure that comes from feeling like your own physical performance is the only thing that matters in intimate encounters. Knowing you have multiple pathways to creating satisfaction reduces anxiety and actually improves your overall function. The integration of this technique with other forms of stimulation creates even more powerful experiences. Many men find that combining gentle stimulation of this spot with simultaneous external clitoral stimulation using the other hand creates intensely powerful responses. The dual stimulation engages both the internal and external components of the clitoral complex simultaneously, creating a layered, multidimensional experience. The coordination required, maintaining consistent rhythm with one hand while providing complementary stimulation with the other, demands focus and attention that further reinforces that beneficial external focus we discussed. Positioning also matters for optimal access to this area. While this spot can be accessed in various positions, certain positions provide better angles and easier access. When she's lying on her back with her knees bent and legs spread, you have clear visual and physical access to the area. This position also allows you to observe her facial expressions and body language, providing valuable feedback about your technique. Alternatively, when she's on her side with her top leg bent, you can access this area from behind with a slightly different angle that some women find particularly effective. In summary, the journey toward deep, mutual satisfaction requires moving past the simplified notions of the G-spot and embracing the complexity of the entire pleasure network. The spot that women truly crave is the highly sensitive area of the anterior vestibule, right behind the entrance, which serves as a powerful nerve and vascular convergence point where multiple anatomical structures intersect. Accessing it requires precise, gentle, rhythmic, and upward curling pressure, not deep, aggressive thrusting or random exploration. Mastering this spot ensures you are engaging the foundational nerve structure of her pleasure. The confidence that comes from truly understanding female anatomy and having reliable techniques for creating pleasure transforms not just your intimate encounters, but your entire relationship dynamic. When both partners know that satisfaction is reliable and mutual, intimacy becomes something to anticipate with excitement rather than approach with anxiety. This positive anticipation creates more frequent intimate encounters, which strengthens the relationship bond and creates an upward spiral of connection and satisfaction. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this discussion provides you with clear, actionable insight into deepening your connection and satisfaction. Mastering this spot is a testament to the power of thoughtful technique over simple endurance, and it represents a commitment to genuine partnership where both people's pleasure matters equally. If you found this information valuable, please make sure you subscribe to the channel for more discussions on senior men's health and wellness. I'll see you in the next video.